Hey everybody, it's 12:31 Eastern time here, and for those of you who had registered for this webinar, it was supposed to happen last week, and I am so sorry, but that's the curse of having I'm a real estate coach, and I'll speak about real estate often, but also I am still in production, and I think that coaches can be really good if they're still in production, but I have the curse of being in production. And then last week I had a lot of closings and responsibilities on the day I was supposed to do it, and they could not move. So I apologize for moving it. I'm glad that you guys are still here. And then a lot of the people that had registered that were going to be there last week, I'm going to get the recording to everybody here. So I'm really excited about talking about building and scaling a high-powered team with you guys today. I see some folks that I recognize, and I can't wait to help. I want to encourage you to raise your hands or ask questions during this. Ask questions into the chat if you have questions during this webinar. And I can't wait to talk about building and scaling a high-powered team. Before I start, let me tell you a story. When I got into real estate, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know if real estate was going to be my full-time gig. And then in that first year and 12 months, I had realized that real estate was my passion. It was my livelihood. It scratched every entrepreneurial itch I'd ever had. And then very quickly, what I did, much like probably many of you did, is I started reading books about how to be a better real estate agent, about how to scale a real estate business, how to be more profitable, and get your life back, all of those things. And much like today, 10 years ago when I started in real estate, all these books started talking about building a team. I read a red book, an R-E-D book, not R-E-A-D, read a book, but I read a red book that a lot of people read when they get into real estate. And a lot of people call it the Bible of real estate. I read that book. I read a book called The $1,000,000 Real Estate Team. I read all sorts of books that just started talking about if you're a real estate agent, you start to become successful, you need to build a team. And guys, I will tell you that about 3 years into my real estate career, I started building teams just like that book told me to. And I'm going to tell you that it created a lot of messes, a lot of issues, a lot of situations in which all of my production, if I was selling 100 homes a year, almost all of the money I made in that production was going to fuel the team and give the team everything that they needed and everything that a team should provide. And I was losing some money. Don't get me wrong. If I'm selling 100 homes a year, I was making great money, but I was also giving a lot of that back and subsidizing the team. And then 5 years ago, 2020, 2019, 2020, I was frustrated. I was done with the way real estate teams were built. I thought about blowing the whole thing up. And I thought, I need to do this in a different way. And so I started building out a team in what I consider now the very healthy and correct way to do it. I also want you to hear something right now, before I go into all of this. I have a real estate team right now that has sold almost 100 homes from December to March 21st, 2025, as we're sitting here today. And we aren't that big. There's only about 8 or 9 agents that are in production in my team right now. Okay? So that means in less than a quarter, we've sold 100 homes. That means we're on track with just 8 or 9 people to sell 400, maybe 450 homes this year with 8 or 9 people. And I want you to hear that that's awesome and that's great, but there are still days where I go, you know what? If it was just me and this little tiny team, maybe my life would be easier. Maybe my life would be more enjoyable. Maybe I would be more profitable. And so what I'm going to tell you today is you guys are probably shooting for or desiring those kind of numbers. I'd love to have a team that sold 450 houses a year. That sounds great. But sometimes the grass isn't always greener. And sometimes building a little high-powered micro team around you might be the best answer. Now, I want to be clear, the team that I have today, I wouldn't give up for the world. I am incredibly proud of them and the hard work that they do. And they also, most importantly, are my friends. Like they're my dearest, dearest friends. And so I wouldn't blow that up. But sometimes there's really something beautiful at staying small. So everything you're hearing from me today, take pieces of what is applicable to you, take pieces of that are not, and throw those out and take take what you want in. Okay. I teach teams in a little bit of a different way. Before I go into those details, I also want to paint a picture. If you have not read those books that I am mentioning, in short, this is what they advise you to do. When you're a real estate agent and you start finding success and you just start to get to that point where you're feeling really busy, maybe you're selling 15, 25, 35 homes a year, something like that. What they tell you to do is they tell you to go hire other agents, go hire buyer agents or listing agents, or go hire hybrid agents that do both, bring them onto your team, teach them what you do, and they will just magically start selling homes as well, just like you are. And you'll make some money from their sales with whatever split structures you determine, and then you'll make money from your sales. And it's just that easy. They just start selling homes and you start selling more homes and they start selling more homes, and then everybody just starts making more money and you get to make money off their split, and it's beautiful. I'm here to tell you that it's not the case. Okay, that's not a reality. As a matter of fact, I've coached teams that have 3 or 4 agents on them to mega teams in markets like Dallas and Seattle and markets just north of Miami that have teams of greater than 100 people, and I coach their leaders, and they're losing money. They're in the red every year. And they may even sell like close to 1,000 homes, but they're losing money. I have a team in Nashville that I coach, losing money with lots and lots of agents and lots of sales. So don't follow that advice. If I could give you any advice, build a team around you. Stay small if you want to, that's okay, and shoot for profitability. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today and what that looks like. And please don't be afraid to ask some questions, go into the chat, etc. So I'm going to start with share my screen and get into the presentation here. When you reach a place where you are typically, my advice is when you get to a place where you're selling about 25 homes a year, 20 to 25 homes a year, you have reached a place in which your capacity as an agent is capped. Okay. I always coach that when you are an agent, I believe that you should get to a point that you only have 4 jobs. Those 4 jobs are lead generating, which by the way is the #1 most important job of all time. The second job is negotiating. The third job is showing homes, and the fourth job is listing homes. And all the other minutia, like transaction coordination, filling out forms, even marketing, even documentation, accounting, all those kind of things in running your business, those should be handled by someone else. And you should get to a point to where you only have to worry about those 4 things. If you can focus on those 4 things, your business will scale, your transactions will scale, your volume will scale, your GCI will scale, all those things will grow. And typically, when I coach people around this, I find that it's about the 25 to 30, 35 transaction a year mark where it's time to get to where your business is where you're just doing those 4 things. All right. From transactions per year of 0 to 20, okay, you can probably handle negotiating, showing homes, lead generating, listing homes, and all the other things that I had mentioned. And you know what? It's probably good that you do that. It is good that you do that, because if you're going to grow into a team, if you're going to grow into leadership, you need to know how to do all those things. All right. Some of us, when we start in our real estate business, we actually join teams, and we'll join a team that allows us to just focus on those 4 things. All I have to do is lead generate. All I have to do is negotiate. All I have to do is show homes and list homes. And I don't have to worry about transaction coordination. I don't have to worry about documentation. The marketing is done for me, etc. Some of us join those teams, and that's great. One little side note and something to write down is, if you're in that environment right now and you're thinking about starting your own team, I would highly encourage you to learn how the back-end processes work that aren't those 4 things if you're going to start hiring, because you need to understand how it works, because you need to understand how to lead around it, if that makes sense. Now, when you get to that 25 to 35 transaction point, it's a good time to think about scaling to get to a role where you only have to worry about those 4 things. And now I'm going to talk about the first hire that you make. Okay. The first hire that you make, in my opinion, is an administrative assistant. Okay. When you go to start a team, do not start your team like those books recommend, where it's bringing agents in to bring more volume in and to bring more overall GCI in, and you share a split with them. I would really recommend, and I would caution against that. Instead, I want you to think about building a team. I'd encourage you to think about building a team with the idea that I want to scale me. I want to grow my real estate business first. I want to go deep in my business before I go wide in other people's business. And let me give you some affirmations here. If you are an agent, let's stop my screen for a second. Screen share. I want you to see me. If you are an agent that is on their way or currently at 20 to 25 plus transactions a year, you are something special. Okay? There was a statistic out there that a lot of agents tried to throw around there for a while, and it was just a few weeks ago. I don't know what it was, but it was something in the neighborhood of, in 2024, 70% of real estate agents didn't sell a home. Something like that. If you guys know the statistic, throw it in the chat. But it was something very drastic like that. Like across the country, 70%, and don't quote me on this, but it's something just like this. 70% of agents didn't sell a home in 2024. So if you have like this imposter syndrome of like, well, I'm selling like 15 to 20 to 25, like I don't think I should start talking or thinking about building a team. But it's okay. Like, that means something that you're doing is going very, very well. You're doing a really, really good job. You're finding deals in a difficult market. You're able to find clients in a difficult market. And that, it requires a ton of talent. And not only are you finding them, you're getting them done. So what I want you to hear is great job if that's you. If you're on your way to that, like great job if that's you. If you are in the 70% that didn't sell a home last year and you're in this webinar, great job for being here. You now know where you got to go to get to the next point of building a team, okay? Now, recognizing that you are in a good spot, you're doing well, you're in the top 30% or more of agents in the country, means that you are doing something great, and you should expand on you and your greatness. And right now, you should worry about your greatness and fulfilling your greatness and what it is that you're doing. You should look into a mirror and say, I am doing great. I want to do more for myself. And that's okay. That's okay to say. And that is a great reason to build a team, is to build it around you so that you can expand and grow your business, and you can expand and grow the people inside of your very deep business and not your wide business that just brings everybody in. Okay. So you are able to do this now. And that's why, sorry, you've earned the right to grow a team now. And that's why you should do it. It's for you to grow something for you. Okay. That's okay. Later, you can grow something for others. But right now, use the inertia that you have to grow something for you. So the first step would be an administrative assistant. Okay. Now, a lot of people do this in a lot of different ways. Some of you are actually on this call. I know you. Some of you guys are coaching clients of mine in this call. And you guys actually did this, but you did this in different ways. So an administrative assistant can take a lot of responsibilities off of your plate. For example, marketing. For example, creating like marketing collateral. For example, handling your transaction coordination. Those kind of things. You can do this with virtual assistants, or you can do this with people in-house. It's really your choice. But the key thing is that when you go to hire your administrative assistant, you need to think about in your individual business, what is everything that I am doing in my business right now that is not lead generating, negotiating, showing homes, listing homes, going on listing appointments. Okay. What is everything that I am doing that is not that? And that is what I want to start to offload. Okay. A lot of you guys are kind of already past this point. I do want you to tune in and listen to me a little bit if you can, because maybe there's something that you can pick up. Some of you guys aren't here, and that's great too. My recommendation for administrative support immediately when you start to hit that 20 plus transaction a year standpoint is transaction coordination. All right. What does that mean? That's a role. What are their responsibilities? A transaction coordinator should take every single piece of documentation, collecting earnest money, coordinating inspections, coordinating financing, coordinating title, or if you're an attorney, state coordinating the attorney's office, scheduling closings, scheduling appraisals, scheduling final walkthroughs, excuse me, all of that stuff should be off of your plate. It's incredible how much work you can get done from the moment that you pinned a transaction to the moment it closes when you don't have to focus about that minutia, when you don't have to talk about clients about where their earnest money or their deposit going, when you don't have to talk about to clients about who our trusted inspectors are and here's how to schedule them, when you don't have to schedule closings, when you don't have to give paperwork to title companies, when you don't have to confirm commissions, when you don't have to do all of that stuff. It's amazing how many hours you gain back. And this is where I get to tell a story. I was really dumb because I started a team with teammates first, and I did not help myself. Okay. And when I started a team with teammates, everybody was selling houses and I was buying them leads and I was buying myself leads and I was doing all this transaction coordination myself. And I didn't know it, but the wheels were falling off. I got to a point where I was selling about 55, 65 homes in a year. And I did not have administrative support, but I had team members. Okay. Which is what a lot of people do. They like go team members first. Okay. What happened is that the moment when I was at 65 transactions a year and I said, you know what? It's time. I can't do this transaction coordination alone anymore. Like it's insane. I'm a really high capacity person. I can do a lot of things, but I was done. I was burnt out. When I hit that moment and I hired a transaction coordinator, in the next 12 months, my 65 transactions went to 90. I sold 25 more homes in a 12-month period because of the time that I got back. All right. And in our market, that's like 7-8 million in volume. That's like $240,000 in gross commission income. that I made and I gained with the time that I saved in transaction coordination. Okay. If you guys are interested in our transaction coordination checklist, in the chat here, just drop your email. Okay. And I'll send you the exact checklist of what what you don't have to register or anything. That's not how I roll. I'll send you the PDF of what a transaction coordinator in our office and our team does from top to bottom and what their responsibilities are. Okay. How do you hire a transaction coordinator? Well, when you're at this mark of 20 to 25 to 30 transactions, you probably can get away with two types of transaction coordinators. I have a preference, but I'll tell you both. The first is there are transaction coordinators in every market. You could go and Google real estate transaction coordinator in I don't know, Toluca, Mississippi or something. I don't know where everybody's from. And you would find a transaction coordination service, and you could pay them per file, maybe 300, maybe 350, maybe $250 per file to take a lot of the things off of your plate. You could do that. Or here's what I recommend. You could hire someone in a mostly part-time role, and you could help them get licensed. And the reason I want my transaction coordinator licensed is because I want my transaction coordinator to be able to prepare every single real estate document that I can. I want to be able to say, hey, transaction coordinator, I want you to prepare a buyer's inspection response, and I want it to say these things, and I want this deadline, and I want it to be signed by the clients at this time. Can you go ahead and do that? And they can fill it out, and they can do all of it. In our state, if they're not licensed, they can't fill out those documents. They can't work with those documents and collect signatures on that, okay? So I would recommend that you grab a person and you grow them up in your team. And even though it takes more time, it gets you better results, and you can customize the process for you and your team and get them licensed, okay? If you're in that 20 transactions mark, again, this person could probably be part-time. It could probably be someone in your sphere that that's a really talented individual that has some time on their hands, that wants an extra 20 hours a week of work. And you need to make sure that they're very detail oriented, and you need to make sure that they can commit to this work and they could grow. Okay. I got a question popping up here. What do we have here? Uh-oh. I don't know how to do that. So maybe try and put your email into, let's see if I can fix this really quick. Attendees, here we go. I got this. Attendees can chat with everyone. Okay, cool. If you want to put your email in the chat, you can do that now. Thank you, Carson. I appreciate it. All right. Last thing, how to hire them. Okay. And what to look for on an administrative assistant before we roll to the next role. We've talked about when to hire. We've talked about roles and responsibilities. Let's talk about how to hire and what to look for. If you're hiring an administrative assistant, you want to look for someone who complements you. Is not you. It's not like you. The person is not like you, but complements you. So one of the things I recommend is something that's called a working genius assessment. Okay. If you went to Google and you typed in working genius report or a working genius assessment, my recommendation is when you go to start a team, you complete a working genius assessment of yourself. Okay. I actually am just going to pull this up for you guys really quick so that you can see it. And learn from this a little bit. And I'm going to coach on this just briefly here, okay? Let's see here. Make sure I'm sharing this screen. Yeah, perfect. It looks like I am. Oh, no, right here. A working genius assessment is not a DISC test. It's similar, but a lot of people talk about DISC tests and they say, hey, if you want to hire an administrative assistant, you need to hire someone who is really high on the S and really high on the C. Somebody who is really detail oriented and somebody who's really patient. Okay. That's not incorrect, but what I would recommend in a working genius assessment is hire someone that complements you. And what a working genius does is it figures out what your working genius is, what your qualities are that you really enjoy doing in your work, what you are a genius at. Okay. And I'm going to make a blanket statement right now that most top producers, most people that are really good at producing in real estate, they often have working geniuses of what are called discernment or even tenacity or invention. Sometimes they have working geniuses of galvanization. What do those things mean? That means that top producers are usually really good at inventing things or coming up with new ideas. They also have discernment, meaning like they're really good at solving problems, putting out fires, having a gut instinct of how something's going to go. Sometimes even top producers as yourself may be galvanizing. That means they can rally the troops. That means that they can get people to get behind them and take action. And then oftentimes top producers have a lot of tenacity. So that means that they will go through and they will not stop following up on something until it's dead. They will see a lead all the way through. Okay. Well, oftentimes what top producers lack is enablement, meaning like helping people through certain processes and seeing them through. And they lack tenacity in the form of, I have a project, but it falls apart, or I have this idea, but it falls apart. And so the kind of personality that you're looking for in a administrative assistant is somebody who has one of these three working geniuses: discernment, enablement, and tenacity. Okay, let me explain that just really quickly. If you're hiring an administrative assistant, you want somebody who can solve problems. You don't want someone who's always like, hey, I have a question. I'm going to wait before I take any action on it until you answer it. You don't want that. That's not valuable to you as a top producer because you're going to be running and gunning. You have a lot of responsibilities every day. And if you have somebody who's like, I can't do anything without their permission, that's not going to work very well. So you want somebody that has some discernment as a working genius. You also want somebody who is an enabler. Enablement typically has a negative connotation, but what enablement actually means is like somebody who helps somebody roll the ball up the hill, somebody who helps someone accomplish a goal that they are wanting. So you want somebody who really does want to help you. Okay. And then you want somebody that has some tenacity as well, meaning like they'll follow through on a project, they'll hit every single step, they will not miss it, they'll see it through to its end. All right. So instead of a DISC test, I would recommend that you look at these working genius quizzes. Essentially, they do cost money, but it's really important to do these. Okay. So I'm going to head back to administrative assistant. One last thing I'm going to hit on compensation. If you're starting with transaction coordination and transaction coordination only, okay, you probably can start with a per file compensation, somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 to $350 a file. And we find that to be average across the country. You know, there are some really high dollar marketplaces where the transaction coordination person is making $400 a file or something, but typically it's in that realm. Okay. Now, if you're hiring someone, if you guys remember right, when I said, when you think about what you want your administrative assistant to do, you have to think about everything around those four key characteristics that you want to hire. If they're not just doing transaction coordination, but let's say they're doing transaction coordination and marketing, and they're wearing a couple hats, you may want to consider an hourly, or you may want to consider a salary. And depending on your marketplace, you need to set those. I've seen a lot of people that work as full-time administrative assistants in the real estate space make somewhere around 40 to 50,000 a year. And if you're gonna go full-time, that's maybe a thing to look for. But most of you, if you're just now building this team, you're probably in this part-time situation. So you want to think about compensation being maybe about half of that. Okay. Hourly works well, or if you want to hire them salary, you can think about it around what it is, their time commitment's going to be and what's good for your market. Remember, this is touchy, but an administrative assistant, if you require them to do certain tasks at certain times and you require them to show up to an office, those people, and you give them the tools to do that, those people are employees, okay? Meaning you'd have to create payroll and you'd have to pay them paychecks and those kind of things, right? However, like transaction coordinators, they have a role. They're a contractor typically. They need to see a contract from beginning to end, but when they do it and how they do it and where they do it, you don't require, okay? You don't mandate. And that is likely a contractor. Also, a hybrid of like a transaction coordinator and a marketing person could also be a contractor, a 1099 employee, okay? Because again, you give them the, hey, this is what we'd like to accomplish in my business. You do it at your pace, at your time. I would expect this amount of time, and you do it in your way with your tools. That's a contractor, okay? And those can be tricky. Always reach out to your accountant or your attorney, no matter where you are, to figure out what that is. Let's go to step 2. And before we go to step 2, let's start painting a picture. I actually already painted one. What typically happens is when you hire an administrative assistant, and after about 3 to 6 months of intense onboarding, you get to the point where you are selling more homes. You're busier because what happens? You probably got 20 hours a week back. And if you're smart, you took that 20 hours a week and you take it and you lead generate. You go have more coffees. You go make more phone calls. You convert more leads. You shake more hands. You go to more networking events. You meet more people. What happens? You sell more homes. And then maybe instead of 20 to 30 transactions a year, now you're going to 50. Maybe you're going to 55. Okay. Maybe you're going to 45. Maybe you're going to 65. I don't know. But you scale your business. You might even double your business. Okay. I told you the story how I was doing almost 60 and then I went to 90. Okay. And that's a huge growth. And that means we're at this next level of a capacity problem. Each time you hire someone, it's typically due to a capacity problem. And you guys may be surprised by this if you haven't followed me or learned a lot from me in the past, but the next hire is not a team agent. It's not, okay, let's hire another team person and let's see how they produce, and then my administrative assistant is going to help me and them. No, it's not that. It's what I call an agent partner. Okay. Step 2 here talks about probably one of the greatest hires in the real estate space in regards to giving you time back again, but also giving you production and assistance. Okay. It's what took me from 100 transactions a year to 125 transactions a year, and also gave this partner some transactions and also gave me a lot of time back. Okay. So this is where we start talking about those 4 little piggies again. I want to paint a picture. When you're at step 2 here, you're in this place maybe a year to 2 to 3 to 4 years after your administrative support has been hired, and your administrative support, and you are dialed in and you are awesome and things are going really great, and you are starting to sell so many homes that you are reaching a capacity problem. You're struggling with finding any time for your family. You're struggling to find any time for yourself. You find yourself showing homes every single night, every single weekend. You find yourself in a really, really tough place. You're making a lot of money, but you're mentally in a really tough place. The agent partner is now coming to the table to take one of these 4 piggies away. Okay. The first one is lead generating. The second one is negotiating. The third is showing homes. And the fourth is listing homes or going on listing appointments. If you think back to your career in real estate, Most of you would probably say that the most time consuming, sometimes the most frustrating, sometimes even the most mentally difficult thing is showings. It's the commitment to showings, and it's also the on-call nature of being a top producer. You're every weekend, you're like, at some point, someone's going to text me and they're going to want to see 4 homes. And that's how it gets to be. And so my recommendation is when you hire an agent partner, you pay this person a salary plus commission opportunities, and their primary job is to learn from you on how to do showings. So you take that showing piece away and you give it to the partner agent. Now, I want to be very clear that this is much more detailed, and I want to be very clear that this is much more careful than just, I'm going to pay somebody a salary, I will just send them the showings, they'll figure it out. Okay. The partner roles and responsibilities are technically this. They have 3 jobs. Their first job is to learn. Their first job is to learn from you. You are to be a mentor. You are to be a trainer. Their job is to shadow you everywhere, anywhere, all the time. Okay? So they need to learn from you. They need to learn how to be a top producing agent. They need to learn how your business operates. The second responsibility of the partner is to leverage you. Now, I described what I believe as probably one of the bigger pieces of leverage, which is showing homes. But you and your individual business can also identify other pieces of leverage that you might need that isn't administrative support. For example, it could be, I need somebody to help me run signs and I don't want to pay a sign runner. Okay. I need someone to help prepare CMAs for me. I need someone to take whatever thing that you can get off your plate that isn't in the administrative support bucket. You can give them that leverage. So for me, in my first partner hire, it was showings. I was selling 100 homes a year, 50 of which were buy-sides, meaning we probably had like 80 to 90 buy-side clients a year looking at houses. It's a lot of houses. Okay, that's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 to 500 home showings a year. Okay, I needed someone to take that off of my plate. And so that's what I did. And then I also said, I don't want to have my phone on the weekends. I want my phone to ring to somebody that I trust on the weekends, and I don't want to have to worry about it. And they can take the lead information, they can even serve it, they can give me a synopsis of what happened, and then I can jump in if I need to. But my phone was like my enemy on the weekends, selling that many homes. So those were like the 2 pieces of leverage that I needed. Okay, we already had a sign runner, all those things. You need to identify what the leverage is for you. And the third responsibility of a partner is to lead generate. They need to learn from you how to create business, and then they need to create business for you and them to serve. Let me be very clear on this. When you bring in a partner agent, it is not bringing on a team agent for them to serve their own business. No, no, no. This person is to bring opportunities to your business. It is to partner alongside of them and getting that business closed and under contract, etc. They are to leverage you. They are to learn from you. You're giving them a paid apprenticeship. This is a beautiful thing for them, and it's a beautiful thing for you. For example, if you thought back to your first year in real estate, if you got 10 leads and you talked on the phone to all 10 of those leads in your first year real estate, how many do you realistically think that you would close? If you were honest with yourself, the answer is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 4, maybe 3. If you had 10 leads, you'd probably close 3 or 4 of those 10 leads. But now knowing yourself, you're starting to think about a team, you're starting to get into top production status. Like you're solid at this. If you got 10 leads today, how many would you close? You'd close like 9. And the other one that you didn't close, maybe they just changed their situation or they had really unrealistic expectations. Like you would close like 8 or 9 of those 10. And so that's what I mean by the partner lead generating and bringing it to you, is that in this relationship between you and the partner, you are the chief strategist. You are the doctor. They are the nurse. You are the dentist. They are the hygienist. You are the attorney. They are the paralegal. Okay? If in their lead generation that they learn from you, if they procure an opportunity, they do not get to run with that opportunity. No, they have to bring it to you and you run it together. You strategize that person. You do the strategy session and the partner sits along. You do all of the coaching and the teaching to the lead. You get the contracts put together. You're the one that negotiates the buy side contract and the list side contract and all that saying. You're the person who is the point person, and the partner is the person who serves it. For example, if a partner agent brought in a buy lead and this person just said, hey, I want to buy a house, partner agent would be like, awesome, I want to help you with that. Here, like I have a partner, I have a business partner, and that's what the partner agent would say. And his name is Patrick, and he's awesome at strategizing buys, and I am awesome at getting you in homes when you want to, and we are a perfect 1-2 punch. I wanted to get us together. And Patrick would hop on the phone, and Patrick would strategize all of the things they need to be thinking about, and Patrick would strategize the buyer's agency contract, and Patrick would get this done. And the partner agent would be like, I'm now ready to serve them. And the partner agent would go serve and set up the showings and provide the disclosures and answer the questions. And that's how this symbiotic relationship works. And it's beautiful because 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 in this relationship. 1 + 1 = 4. You both start to produce so much more than you would on your own. Now, here are the really straightforward numbers that this is just going to go into compensation really quick, and I'm running out of time, but I want to be very, very detail oriented with you. These are the numbers on how we do our partners at Crestpoint Real Estate in Indiana. And the numbers can be different depending on the state because there are minimum requirements, okay? In Indiana, we pay our partner agents a $30,000 a year salary. If they convert a lead into an opportunity that I strategize and they serve, a lead that we provided, they get a 10% commission. If they bring a sphere or a lead that they conjured up themselves completely into the team in which I strategize and they serve, they get 30%. Okay. They, after bringing, and these are all really quick things to write down, after they bring in 4 of their own clients into the picture in which you strategize and close, they then earn the right to get 5% of every one of my commissions. Every one of the top producers' commissions that they serve. Hear me on that they serve. Meaning if they show 1 home or 35 homes. Meaning if they went and sat in a closing for me. Meaning if they ran a sign, all of that counts as service. Okay? They get 5%. And that's the top producer's way of saying, like, listen, I recognize that you're starting to get this. I recognize that you're putting in the work. You are starting to close some transactions. You have helped me so much. I'm now sharing a portion of my business with you. Okay. Here's what's wild is that partner agents, while doing this leverage piece and all the things that they do for the top producer, believe it or not, they also sell homes. They sell a good amount of homes because they're running with the top producer every day. I have a minimum requirement that my partner agents make 100 phone calls a week. They talk to 10 people a week, and they they have less than 25 tasks in their CRM every single Thursday. Those are the requirements that I set for my partners. And what's wild is when they make $100 a week and they're surrounded by a top producer and they get a lot of experience really quick because they're showing a lot of homes and they're seeing a lot of price points and what homes are like and how fast they're selling. They start selling homes themselves. And on average, our partner agents will sell about 12 to 15 homes in their first year while helping me. Okay. Now, I'm sure you're probably already running the dollars in your head, but in that first year, that relationship, every $10,000 commission that you receive, if you procure it, 95% of it goes to you and 5% goes to the partner after they've earned it. And if a partner brings in a deal, 70 to 90% of that transaction goes to the team. Okay. They're making a salary and they're making some commissions, but it's a very profitable endeavor. And the reason you're getting paid like that is because you're giving them a rocket fuel apprenticeship. Okay. There are partner agents that can make $100,000 in a year in a given marketplace with those kind of numbers. So that is a partner agent and what it looks for, or sorry, what it looks like. How to hire them? There is a 9-step hiring process. I do not have the time to go through that. Again, if you in the chat, you guys should have the ability to chat here. I turned it on. Attendees can chat with everyone. Drop your email in the chat if you'd like to me individually or just as a question and answer, and I'll give you literally the 9-step hiring process to hiring a partner. Now, when to hire them, I already described that. Compensation, we already described it. Now we're getting into a place where your business is very deep. You have administrative support and you have partner support. Now you have earned the right in step 3 to hire a team agent if you so choose. If there was a button that I could play to do like a record screech, like a right here, I would do that. I want you to hear something. You can create a beautiful, I'm even turning off the screen share because this is what I want you to see me when I say this. You can create a beautiful, wonderful, greater than $1 million a year business with those 3 people, you, administrative support, and a partner. You can make greater than $1 million in that. I am an example sitting in front of you today that is a reality. And you know what? That's pretty awesome. That's pretty great. I'm a real estate coach and my job is to constantly like be thinking about how can I help my clients get better? How can I help the people that I'm speaking to get better? Like, how can I meet them where they're at? And oftentimes us in real estate, we're always like, next step, next step, next step, next step. And we don't like recognize the gains that we've had in the step that we're in. And so by no means am I saying like, all right, you get there, just cruise. But guess what? Like if you want to cruise, if you want to make $750,000 to $1 million a year every year with an administrative support person and a partner, you can do it. In most markets, what that means is with an administrative support person and a partner, you individually selling about 100 to 110 homes, $1 million. Some of you are in markets where it's probably only like 65 to 70 homes, $1 million, greater than $1 million. In our market in Indiana with an average sales price of $350, I essentially have to do about $35 or $40 million to make greater than $1 million. I have to do $35 or $40 million in volume to get that. You can do that with just these 2 people. Okay? You can also create $2, $3, $4, $5 million real estate teams when you start scaling into team agents. Okay? But you can make $1 million with just those 2 people. And that's it. Like I could stop and I could just like record screech this thing and be done. I want you to hear that. Okay? However, if you want to scale and you're crazy like me, you can also start to get into team agents. And this is hire number 4. I'll be pretty quick on this. A team agent, the best team agent, somebody to come into your team and then produce on their own without leveraging you, but produce on their own, okay, is somebody who was a partner first, who was hire number 2 first. Partners typically want to, at some point, they want to graduate. They don't want to help you forever. Now, I have a partner who wants to help me forever. I have to have 2 partners with the amount of business that I do. And I hope that you get there too, if that's what you want. Okay. But one of my partners is like, I want to be a partner forever. I love it. I don't want to be the top producer. I love serving someone. I love making a little bit of commissions here and there. I just love this and this and that. Okay. But some, they want to graduate and they want to be like, thanks, mom. Thanks, dad. You taught me everything. I helped you a lot. Now I'm ready to do my own thing. And that's a beautiful thing. So if I had it my way, I actually wouldn't bring team members outside from anywhere. I would actually just graduate my partners into team agents. And that's what I would recommend. Typically, the graduation requirements to get from partner to team agent is 1 year of really great service and then a transaction threshold that you think is reasonable. For us, we say it's 15. Okay. 12 to 15 deals. If you do that in your first year while running around and doing everything for me, and you've given me a really good year of service, if you want to get into our micro team, you got it. You've earned it. Okay. Then that team agent gets to produce on their own, do their own thing. You can decide if you want to provide them leads. You can decide the split structures, etc. If you want to see our split structures and what we provide to team agents, all of those things, just drop your email. I'll give you the whole micro team split structure playbook here. And it'll be everything that you need. Okay. I would recommend growing them though from partner to team. Okay. Now, inside our team, the team agents now are no longer salary, they're contractors. So we can't be like, you got to show up to work every single day at this time, like I can a salary partner person. Okay. But what we can do is we can say, hey, if you do these things, you can earn the right to get these things as a part of our contract. So if team agents come to our 8:45 to 9:30 huddle every single morning except Wednesday mornings, and if they make 100 dials a week, and if they have a 10% contact ratio, and if they have 25 or less tasks in their inbox on Thursdays, and if they sell more than 3 homes in a quarter, they can get leads. They can get Zillow leads. They can get PPC leads. We also pay for their signage. We do a lot of different things to justify the splits that we get. But we usually, starting team agents out on a 40% split to them and a 60% split to us. And then they can work their way all the way up to 85% splits, but they have to give us a lot of transactions, a lot of lifetime transactions to earn that because we're giving them a lot of things. We set a cap of about $40,000 for each team agent. And that helps the team actually stay profitable. Because if you contrast that with a lot of the ways that people start businesses, which is, hey, I want to start a team and I'm going to start hiring team agents and we'll put them on a 70-30 split. Or we'll put them on an 85-15 split. And I'll keep 15 and I'll keep 30. And that's cool because I'm making 15 or 30% of what they do and they're just doing their thing. Then you start buying CRMs for them. And then you start buying resources for them. And then you start buying leads for them that they're probably not converting as well as you would have. And then you start providing all these things. That's when you find yourself in the red. Okay. So it's really important to make sure that your split structures are well thought out and what you're providing to your team is well thought out. And I'll send that to you guys if you dropped your email. I want to go to the last step. This is step number 4. Okay. This is what we call the empire builder. This typically comes from someone who has been a partner, either graduated to a team agent or has stayed a partner forever. This is what we call the dream scenario. This is the person that allows you to leave your business, allows you to step away from selling real estate in however many years, and they step right in and they serve your clients. Okay. all I have to say about this is typically the way I coach empire builders is that they are structured with a salary, a nice salary, maybe 40, 50, 60, maybe 70,000 a year. They've earned it. They've been with you for a really long time. You're stepping out of the business. You trust this person. And then you share something in the neighborhood of like 25% of all of the commissions that they do. And you retain 75. Because when you step out of real estate, every single bit of business that you've created, every single bit of a relationship, you want to give to that person and you want to have them cultivate it just as if you would have. And then you want to retain the fruits of your labors in a life for a lifetime for them. And an empire builder is not something that I have done yet because I'm still in production. But this idea of creating a team full of people that started with you as partners, that are bought into the team dynamic and you are bought into them. And then ultimately one day you can hand the torch to one of them and say, listen, my business is yours. And your only role in that is to just maintain the relationships that you have. That's a really beautiful thing. And they get to negotiate and they get to list the homes and they get to show the homes and they get to lead generate. Like that's a really freeing place to be. And you can reap the benefits of that. Now, some things I just want to tell you in general before we end this today is we can webinar for my future you can register for my future webinar in May. It talks about how to find free and affordable lead sources for your real estate business. But something I want to just send home to you today before you leave is that, again, you can do a lot with just a small team, and you make a lot of money with a small team. And also, if you start to grow the team, I don't believe that you can truly lead more than about 7 or 8 people. And if your team starts to scale beyond that, you need to find people that you have groomed up to lead some more. And you need to create little pods inside of your team. If you're trying to lead 20 or 30 people 5 years from now, it will all fall apart. I'm the example of that. In 2019, I lost 16 people in my brokerage because I was trying to lead 35 people on my own. So make sure that you lead and you lead exceptionally well, no more than 7 people. There's a question here. Do you have the partner agents doing work servicing the deals? All the team agents have. No. There have been teams that I have coached that like adopted this model. And then what they did is they had like a rent a partner or a share a partner model where one partner was helping like 3 or 4 agents. And I'm sure you can already feel and determine like what happens here. The team agents, they want the partner when they want the partner, and the partner is being pulled like 3 or 4 different directions. And that doesn't work because all of the clientele of 3 or 4 agents is probably too much for one partner to serve. Also, the relationship between that partner and the top producer has to be very close. And you want that partner to model 1 producer, not 4. So I really recommend that if people start looking into the partnership model, that it's 1 partner per 1 producer. And that's why you don't want to start it too quick. I've had some people reach out to me in coaching and they just now hit, 20 transactions and now they want to hire a partner. And it's too soon. There's probably not enough work for that partner at the time. I think it's about when you start hitting, remember, 15, 20, 25, 30 transactions, that's administrative support. When you start getting to like 50-ish, it's time to get to a partner, in my opinion. So Carson, that's a really great question. Guys, if you have any questions about this, like find me on Instagram, Patrick Keller Realtor. My email is patrick@crestpointindy.com. You can register for this next webinar. You can go to meetpk.co and watch other webinars that I've done, other teachings that I've done. Whatever you need, I'm here. I love to help. If you want to talk about coaching in any level, you can reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. I'm kind of an under the radar coach. So I don't go out there and like advertise my coaching and have it all over the place. I do enjoy coaching about 7 or 8 clients at a time. And so I'd love to talk to you about coaching if that's something that you want to talk about. If you ever want me to come and speak to your group or something, I'd love to talk to you about that too, or just help your team out. So I'm a resource. I really appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much for hanging in, and I'll send you this recording afterwards. Y'all take care.